What's up, everyone? It's Gabe Mendez. Today is March 1st, 2023, and we are wrapping up our series of how to go from new agent to top producer in 5 days. Today is module 5, and we're covering standard operating procedures and sales. We're going to dive right into it. We have 45 minutes, and we're going to go fast. All right, everyone. Listen up, get ready to write down. Here's the game plan. This is exactly what we need to be doing to wrap up everything. All right, so up to this point, we've created all the foundational, let's go straight into standard operating procedure. All right, SOPs, write that down. Step number 1 in module 5 is creating your standard operating procedures. You create your own SOPs. David and Anita out in Houston, Texas will tell you how labor intensive this is. Just look at their screens. They have the biggest smile and it's been labor intensive. Standard operating procedure, step number 1. What is a standard operating procedure? This is your process and your systems in place to support your business. So your process, let's define what a process is. The process is when step A happens, then B, then C, then D, then E. Your systems, this is where you're going to use software to help systematize and automate your processes. For example, you might be a Starbucks drink, a barista, and you have a process, a standard operating procedure of how you blend a caramel macchiato or a chai tea latte. They might say, grab a cup, step A. Step B, put this ingredient. Step C, grab the milk. Step D, da-da-da-da. And then you use your system, AKA your little swirly thing that blends everything together, or the thing that shoots out hot this or whatever, or the foam thing on top. Then you use a system, put it in there, and it finishes everything for you. You automate it. So you have your process, and then you have your system. Okay. Every single real estate business out there is going to be similar in the way we conduct business, different in how our processes look. Some of us might want to do special things, right? So let me give you an example. Better Buzz Coffee, Starbucks Coffee. They both serve coffee, but both of their systems and processes are different. One has a different process for intaking clients. When they walk in, what they should say, how to blend the drink, the ingredient. And both of them have different systems. One might purchase one at a separate company to help them blend to create the foam. Are you guys starting to understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to draw the parallel so that you guys can see how this applies in real estate. Let me see some head nods. Is this making sense for you? Okay. In real estate, you have to develop your own standard operating procedure. Let me give you an example. Here are the 5 that I wrote down that in terms of when it comes to developing your standard operating procedure. Letter A, we'll call it. When a lead comes in, write this down. So developing your standard operating procedure, point A. When a lead comes in from a referral, website, text message, direct message on social media, sign call, paid lead source. You need to develop a system and a process for those categories in A. I'm going to say that one more time. Create a system and a process for the following categories in point A. Referrals, website lead, a text message lead, a direct message on social media, a sign call, a paid lead source. For any of you who've had a paid lead source before, is the conversation different? Or actually, maybe you never had it either. Let's just keep this open to anyone. If you've had a paid lead source, or maybe you haven't, don't you think the conversation is going to be different? Don't you think the way you handle that client is going to be different than someone your tia gave to you? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Right? Yes. Absolutely. This is why your process needs to be documented when that person comes in, because you as a business owner, as an independent contractor business owner, your responsibility is to create that process so that you can duplicate it for your assistant, your manager, your team lead, your agents that join your team. How do you think the owner of Starbucks, McDonald's, and all these other franchises scaled their business? It was duplicatable. A lot of us in real estate, we don't have a duplicatable business. Those are the categories that you want to create a process and a system behind. Next. So that's who you need to create a process for. I also want you to create, now next, letter B. I want you to create a standard operating procedure for buyers. Here are the categories in buyers that I created procedures for. And I wish someone would have told me this in the very beginning, that it was different. I really wish someone would have sat me down and said, hey, dude, it's going to be different when a buyer gets approved. What do you do next? It's going to be different when a buyer gets approved and they're on hold. Oh my gosh, wow. Think about that. You get a buyer. Okay, anyway, so letter B, here we go. Create a standard operating procedure for buyers. Here are the buyer categories. Ready? You need to create an SOP for buyers who were approved. Means they met with the lender and they got approved. Next, buyers approved, but they're on hold. Meaning they met with the lender and they're like, hey, Natalie, I'm sorry. Hey, Miguel, I apologize. Rocio, not right now. I know I'm approved, but I'm going to wait 3 to 6 more months. I wait. What do you do after that? You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Most of us don't even know. I mean, let me ask you a question, other than Jose and other than David and other than Natalie and Anita. Does anyone else here have a process or a procedure documented that you can hand over to someone like this and say, hey, if I get a client that gets approved and the email comes in from the lender, or they send us a text message in a group chat, say they're approved, but they're not ready to go, or the buyer says, hey, I got approved yesterday, but I'm not ready right now. Who here out of all 19, not including the 3 I just mentioned, how many of you have a standard operating procedure for when that happens? Let's be honest. Who has it documented to say, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing? If a buyer gets approved and they're still 12 months out, 6 months out, who has a process for that already documented?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have one.
Thank you, Caesar. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm still lost in the sauce.
No.
Yep. No one, right? No one, right? Exactly. That is the level of excellence you have to have in your business if you want to duplicatable, because guess what? What are you going to do when that buyer gets approved and then tells you, hey, Carolina, never mind. I'm going to wait 6 months. Hey, Stephanie, never mind. I'm going to wait 1 more year. What are you going to do? What does your follow-up process look like? Where do you place that lead? What conversation do you have with them? That's like a customer walking into a store saying, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to put it on layaway. I'm not going to buy it right now, though, and walks away. I promise you, Best Buy, Walmart, they probably have a standard operating procedure for that. If a client says this, then you do that. Does that make sense? Just a nod ahead. Yep, little thumbs up or something like that. Makes sense? Yes? All right, good. Next person on your buyer category that you must create a standard operating procedure for. Buyer approved and ready to shop. Continue on. I saw, does someone have a question? I see a hand up. No? Nope. Okay. Writing and preparing an offer. Must have an SOP for that. You must have an SOP for sending an offer. What does it actually look like? Yeah, you might have it up here, but do you have it on here? Are you a true business owner? Or are you just a high paid sales guy? Oof, come on, somebody. Next, receiving and presenting offers. This is all surrounded around the buyer category. Opening escrow. The escrow process. Closing process. So the last like 7 days, what happens? Final walkthrough, et cetera, et cetera. Post escrow, that's the last one. Post escrow. What happens when you close escrow? What happens? I had a really good conversation with one of the agents, Stephanie, on my team yesterday. We had a closing a couple of days ago. Let me share something with all of you. Of course, you guys can have access to our entire procedure and our process. That's part of being the benefit of being the winner's circle with all of us. We get to share everything with each other. One of these steps in our one of our steps in our closing procedure, meaning we closed escrow and we have to meet with the clients to get the keys. Stephanie will tell you, she's on camera, she'll nod her head and say, yeah, we have a process for it. There's like 6 or 7 steps that have to go on that. One of the steps is we have a key. That key must be backed up with all of the contracts for the client. You might see it in some of our photos. It's a gold key. It's a USB drive. We give that to the client on closing day. One of the steps is this, listen to this. On that closing checklist, no matter how new of an agent you are, if you're on the Gabe Mendez group and now the winner's circle, on there it tells you, well, during your escrow procedure, it says at the home inspection, ask the inspector where the water shutoff valve is, the gas shutoff valve, the breaker box, how to shut off the emergency valve for the main water valve on the outside of the city. It tells you to ask all these questions to the home inspector. And then on closing day, it says review your notes from the inspection day and give the buyer a tour of their property and remind them where everything's at. Take your buyer, look at your buyer just showed up with their tia, their friends, their spouses, the cameras are on them, they're excited, everything's there. You got the balloons, you got the champagne, the poppers. It's an exciting moment. Do you know how amazing you would look in front of your clients, in front of their friends and family, on camera, when you grab your buyers and say, hey, now the celebration's finished, we're gonna do a walkthrough tour of your property. I'm gonna remind you of everything you need to know. If there's a fire, something goes out, your power goes out, here's your breaker box. If you have a leak in your water leak inside of your home, here's the main shutoff valve for the water. Make sure to get one of those pliers and turn it this way. If you need to turn up the pressure, you do it right here. If there's a gas smell, and you have to shut off the gas in your home, you're walking them around the entire house and you're like, look at that. You point over here and you're doing this. Could you imagine how blown away your clients are going to be? Could you imagine how their referrals are going to feel? And they're like, oh my gosh. That's your agent? Hijo de su madre. The other agent, he just gave me a little bottle of champagne. He said, wait, that's it. He just left. And your agent over here did this whole thing for me. Honest question. Isn't that a wow factor? Isn't that a wow factor? You know who only does that? New developments. You know who else does that? Gabe Mendez Group. You know who else is going to start doing that now? All of you. That's your closing procedure. All right, moving on. I want you all to create an SOP for your sellers. Here we go. Write down these categories. Listing signed. Listing signed, but on hold. Listing signed, and then they canceled. Listing signed, went active, and withdrew. Means they took the home off the market. Got the listing signed now, and they're ready to move forward. Those are the categories. So we went over your lead categories, buyer categories, and your seller categories. Those are the 3 categories we just covered right now. Next, I'm going to teach you how to develop your standard operating procedure. Letter D. This is how you develop your standard operating procedures. Ready? Here we go. First, you're going to answer this question. What happens next? You're going to answer that question. What happens next? You want to create a standard operating procedure. Select any category in your real estate business. I don't care, whatever category you have. A lead comes in, you close a deal, a listing lead comes in from your website. Doesn't matter. Ask yourself this question. What happens next? And then you write that down. And then you write that down. Okay. A website lead comes in. What happens next? Well, I pick up my phone, call the lead. What happens next? They answer the phone, they don't answer the phone. If they don't answer the phone, follow these steps and follow up every X, Y, and Z. Send a text message, do this. Does that make sense to everyone? Show me some head nods or drop it into the chat. Does that make sense? What happens next? What happens next? Still on letter D, creating your standard operating procedure. Here's the second question you answer when you're developing your SOP. What do you say exactly? There needs to be an action, something that you do and something that you say. Chances are, if obviously there's nothing to say, you don't say anything. If you're not talking to a lead, it's just you doing the work, then you don't say anything. But if there's something to do, continue writing that. For example, back on that example I was giving you about the website lead. A lead comes in, what do? Pick up the phone and call them. What do you say? Have a script documented, ready to go. That's how dialed in your business needs to be. Again, if you're okay closing one deal every year and you don't want to be a millionaire and scale your business and sell a bunch of houses, that's okay. It's not a big deal. But this right here, we're talking for those people who have big visions, that want to develop a big, strong business, duplicatable. The ones that don't want to be stuck in that rat race of selling 100 homes every year for the next 50 years. Maybe eventually you want to get yourself out and sell your database. This is the person that we're talking to right now. And yes, it's working on the business. Moving on. Any questions yet? Letter E. If you have any questions, jump in. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anything yet. All right, moving on. Letter E. You're going to document all your SOPs and you're going to find a system to automate them and hire people to delegate the rest when the time comes. Letter E, you're going to document everything. Then next, you're going to find systems, KV Core. We use Sisu to automate a lot of it, put them into the system, let the system do all the heavy lifting, and then you're going to delegate the rest. So you're going to have your entire process. Whatever you can take from that process, put it onto the system, automate it. Next, the rest that's on the list, get that and delegate it. Move everything out of the way so that you can focus on what you need to focus on. Okay, any questions regarding that before we move on? No. Okay. Now we just covered how to create your standard operating procedures. The last part of module 5 is your sales journey. This is strictly around money-making activities, how to make more money, what you should be doing exactly. So now we're talking about starting your sales journey. Now that you have all your foundational pieces in place, it's time to begin building your business. It's important to begin creating, it's important to start by creating your calendar and placing a 3-hour window of prospecting time every day. Your prospecting time is separate from your follow-up time, and it's separate from working on your business. Once you've placed when you'll be prospecting in your calendar, I want you to then next place when you're going to begin preparing for those activities. So for example, all of you are sitting down, you're taking notes. If you're, again, this training is how to go from new agent to top producer. A lot of you are going to be in different parts of your career right now. But if you're just starting off and real estate's everything you're doing, you should have 3 hours of prospecting time in your calendar. I have 1 hour of prospecting time in my calendar at this point in my career. When I was first starting off, I did I think it was close to 6 or 7 hours of prospecting a day, 3 hours of cold calling, 3 hours of door knocking. And if I could, I would host a 2-hour open house on that same weekday. Go ahead and scroll back on my Instagram. Don't believe me? Look at all my old posts that I have. You'll see me start my day at 4:30 in the morning and I wouldn't go to bed till about 11. I have it all documented on there. Go fact check my stuff. This isn't something that I'm telling you that I thought I would do or I read it on a book somewhere. Everything that I'm telling you today is everything that I've gone through my personal journey. And I'm excited that our sales team has sold over 100 houses the last 2 years. Last year, my GCI was just under $1 million. In 2021, it was over. It was 1.3. In sales, we're talking selling houses in real estate. You get that kind of money from flipping, from buying and holding and wholesaling, not from selling a residential property at an average sales price of $600K, by the way. And we work primarily with first-time home buyers and sellers. I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to impress upon you the point that I'm trying to make, that this is very important that when you're prospecting, when we're going out there and making money, that money-making activity is your business when you're first getting started in real estate. So for all of you out there, first step when you're starting your sales journey is you need to have that 3-hour window period in your calendar. This is separate from your preparation time and separate from when you're working on the business. This prospecting time for 3 hours does not mean this. It does not mean, oh, it's 12 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You sit down at the table and you go, okay, who am I going to call today? You sit down and say, okay, now I got to create a flyer for my door knocking. That's not prospecting time. Prospecting time is you're at the doors, park your car at 2:55, flyers in hand, professionally dressed, sweat all batted down, text message and emails taken care of. You have your pen and your paper. You've recited your script over and over again, and you're just sitting there getting in the zone. Then you open the door, meet your partner, or you're getting off a meeting yourself, and you're hitting the doors at 3 p.m. That's prospecting time. You also need your preparation time for your prospecting. Who am I knocking? Who am I calling? What am I going to say? Do I have my flyers? That is separate time every day, separate from your prospecting time. Does that make sense? Yeah. Want to make sure I'm seeing a lot of yeses on there. Catalina, yes. Rosia, yep. We're good. Des, yep. Perfect. Okay. So please place it in your calendar. You should have prospecting time every single day, minimum of 3 hours if you're just getting started. I have 1 hour, separate from building the business and preparation time. All right.
Gabe, I have
Yes.
a quick question before I forget. So, what will you, obviously you said your schedule was like waking up at 4:30, but did you have a set schedule that you can share with us? Like, you need to be in front of your computer by 9 a.m. And then from this time to this time, you're going to do this. And obviously we all have different schedules and we can kind of like coordinate per person. But do you have something like that that you can share?
Yeah. So I'll give you my exact calendar. So when I woke up for the first 2 hours of my day, when I first got started in real estate, it was all me time. That was me getting ready, showered. I would put my suit on. I literally was in a suit in my house, and I was on the phones by 7:30. 7:30 to 9:30 was my prospecting time, just pure cold calling. That's all I was doing. I had my, so that was 7:30 to 9:30, my prospecting time. From about 4:30 to like 6:30 was my time. By like 6:45-ish, I was role playing. 7:30, I was on RedX or I was on Vortex, and I was just cold calling nonstop. I had my scripts right there in front of me, 7:30 to 9:30. After that time, took a little break, went to the gym for a couple of hours, and I was out door knocking by 3 o'clock. 3 to 5:30, I was door knocking. If I had an open house that day, Monday through Friday, if I had an open house that day, my door knocking would go from 1 to 3. My open house would go from 5 to 7. Why cold calling in the morning? There's a higher answer rate first thing in the morning. Why door knocking in the afternoon? Because people come home from work between the hours of 2:30 to 5:30. So if you're knocking from 2:30 to 5:30, you're catching everyone as they're coming home right before dinner. And then I'm hosting my open house at nighttime. So yeah, that was my calendar. That was my schedule in the very beginning. And then at nighttime, like 8, 9 o'clock, that was working on the business. Please go back and look at my Instagram. You're going to see me sitting there. I have pictures of me sitting in my home office, AKA my room, AKA my mom's house. And I had literally envelopes all over my table with pens in my hand. And I was writing thank you cards to every single person that I met, putting a business card inside of it. And if they were a really good lead, I would give a $5 Starbucks gift card. And I would say something like, hey, thanks for talking to me. I look forward to being your trusted advisor. Have a coffee on me. And I'd send that over to them. Professional about my business. I was militant about it. Rosia, does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. And if you guys need me to send you my schedule that I work with now, I can send you a copy of that in the Slack channel. I'll just take a screenshot and send that over to you. My calendar now is obviously completely different, but that was my calendar then. Thanks for asking that question, Rosia. Does anyone else have any questions before we move on? We're going to continue with the sales aspect of it. Okay. So we talked about creating your calendar. Next, here are the 5 buckets of business you should be focusing on. Write them down and determine, write them down and determine where you will focus your efforts. Here we go. First bucket, letter A, door knocking. Letter B, cold calling. Letter C, farming. Letter D, social media. Letter E, sphere of influence. These are the 5 buckets that you should be focusing on, that I focused on, that I recommend you focusing on when you're first building your business. Now
Gabe,
you
what
need
was
to,
E?
sorry, what was that?
Can you repeat E?
Yes, E is sphere of influence.
Thank you.
Sphere of influence just means your friends, your family, people you went to school with, that you've worked with, people that you have a relationship with, that you've contacted, communicate with, anyone that you pay money to for a service. That's your sphere of influence. And you should already, and not you, but just us, we should already have that list created because we talked about that on day one, module number 1. All right. Step number 2, once you have your buckets and you know where you're going to focus your attention, let's talk about door knocking recommendations. Door knocking recommendations.
What is farming?
What's that?
What was farming?
Farming is letter C.
Well, what is that?
Well, I'll get into it in a quick sec. Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
awesome. No, that's okay. Thank you for the question. I'm going to go over my recommendations for door knocking, cold calling, farming, social media, and sphere of influence. That's what we're going to go over next. All right, here we go. Door knocking first. Door knocking recommendations. So we're on point number 2, letter A. Point number 2, letter A. First thing that you guys do, A, pick a condo or a townhome development, not single family. Letter B, identify, I'll probably just give you an explanation. Why a condo or a townhome? I recommend condos and townhomes because when you knock on the door, you develop the relationship and they have to sell, they typically have to sell that condo to upsize to something bigger. That's majority of townhome and condo. If you go for a single family, they're probably retiring, maybe they'll downsize, maybe a double sale, but you have a higher likeliness, same effort of getting 2 sales out of 1 when you door knock on townhome or a condo. And then if you find a buyer for that sale, you just triple ended it. We're talking like 50, 60, 70,000 in commission from the same effort. Letter B, door knocking recommendation. I want you to identify a home that is listed, sold, or gone under contract within the last 1 to 7 days. The earlier, the better. Identify a home that is listed, sold, or gone under contract in that development within the last 1 to 7 days. The earlier, the better. Next step, create a flyer and place that home, the one you just identified and found in the last 1 to 7 days, on the front of that flyer. So you have a flyer created and that home's going to go on the front, just listed, just sold, under contract, whatever it is. On the back of that flyer, you're going to have a CMA created of all the recent sales in that development within the last 90 days. In that development, you're not going next door to the next door development, across the street, only in that development in the last 90 days. If there are more than 9 total sales, then I want you to pick the 3 most relevant in the following categories. So you're creating your CMA, find 3 that are active or less, 3 that are pending or less, 3 that have sold or less that are similar to your unit. I'm giving you guys a fire freaking gold here. This is like the fire flyer right here. You have the just listed, just sold, and on the back, you have the CMA. Fire, because next the script is going to be a home run. Check this out. Here we go. Ready? Next step in door knocking. If you choose to focus on this bucket, here's what we have to do next. I want you to call the HOA and ask them the following questions. Ready? Here are your questions. First question you're going to call the HOA and ask them is, how much are the monthly dues? What does HOA cover? Any special assessments coming up? What are the pet restrictions? What is the parking situation? Guests, primary homeowner, where can they park? Do you need a placard? Do you need that kind of stuff? Next question. Is there a master HOA or a second HOA in this development? Some communities have a master HOA. You pay 2. What is the homeowner to investment occupant ratio? What is the homeowner to investor occupant ratio? How many homeowners are living in this development versus how many of them are investors? This is important because when you pick up a listing, you need to know this. Or when you have a buyer in that area, you need to know that information. Because did you guys know that if there's a development that's over 51% occupied by investors, that property cannot go FHA or VA? Who? Even if it's FHA approved. Even if the development is FHA approved, but 51% is occupied by investors, you cannot sell that property FHA. Woo! Come on, somebody. Who knew that? Be honest. Show of hands. Who knew that? Oh, Natalie says, of course I did. Of course you did, Natalie. This is why you need to ask that question. Next, moving on to the next point. I lost myself for a quick moment, got excited there. Sorry, get excited pretty easily these days. Let's see here. Okay. Your goal every single day. Door knocking. When you're out there door knocking, this is your goal. You don't go home. You don't call it quits. You don't leave until you meet these goals. Every day, 25 contacts. You should be hitting your 5 leads out there out of those 25 contacts. And you should be setting 2 appointments. I'm going to stop here for a quick second. Not only in door knocking, but anytime you speak to anyone, not only in door knocking, but anytime you speak to any prospect, you should be having an appointment setting conversation. Your objective, anytime you talk to anyone, is to set an appointment. It's not a lead conversation. It's not a contract conversation. It's none of that stuff. When you're talking to a brand new prospect, it's to set an appointment. Okay. That's your goal for the day. Lastly, if you choose door knocking, make sure you use the door knocking script, the door knocking script, not a door knocking script, the door knocking script. You're going to role play for 30 minutes every day before you go out. If you use the door knocking script, you didn't hear me say do objection handlers because the door knocking script doesn't allow for objections to come up. The door knocking script is just a series of questions that you ask that get you down the pipeline to where you want to end up. It's just a place to start a conversation. Moving on to the next bucket, cold calling recommendations. Write down fast, write this down fast. Here we go. We're at 11 minutes. You guys know how we do. We start on time, end on time. 11 minutes. Here we go. Cold calling recommendations. First point, letter A. If you want to cold call professionally, here are my recommendations. I want you to go out there and purchase a cold calling software. Here are some recommendations. Vortex, RedX, Mojo. Those are the 3 recommendations if you want to cold call as a professional. They're going to provide you with the leads. They're going to provide you with the leads, and they're going to provide you with the dialer. The lead list is right there in front of you, and you're going to have a dialer in your ear, and you're going to click it, and it's going to call 3 numbers at once for you. And it's going to give you the line that answers. So you're probably making, depending on how many calls you're doing, a lot of contacts in that short time.
Gabe, I know 3 are pretty good systems, but what's your preference?
I used RedX, my cold calling career. Yeah, I use RedX.
Okay.
I have friends who use Mojo. Someone on the Winter Circle uses Vortex. I use RedX.
What is the fee for a monthly fee for one of those, more or less?
You know, honestly, I don't even know at this point. Does anyone have a does anyone know off top head how much it is?
It could be anywhere between 100 to like 300. Once you sign up, you have the features that you can sign up for, which add an additional like $50, things like that. So the features will include how many phones you want to ring at once, and based on if you just want addresses and phone numbers and property information, or if you want to get into detail like pre-foreclosures or things like that, then that's an additional feature.
And the reason we recommend to do this, because it's very time consuming to sit there with a list like this, pick up your cell phone and dial 619-555-5555. Oh, shucks, they didn't answer. Click. Okay. You guys see what I'm saying? Or you get the dialer, and the dialer has the list for you, and it's calling 3 phone numbers for you at every single time, and it's just giving you the live answers in your ear. And all you have to do is continue having the conversation. Next, my recommendation on who you should be calling with those softwares. Next step, B, here are the categories. Call expired listings. Call for sale by owners. And cancellations. Expired listings are someone who wanted to sell. Cancel listings are someone who canceled their agreement. For sale by owner, self-explanatory. You're going to use the cold calling. You're going to use a cold calling script that's recommended to you either from one of those companies. That's their job, is to help you convert, because the more you convert, the more you continue to pay them, and they make money, you make money. Next step, if you decide to cold call, you're going to role play and script practice every single morning. Every single morning, half an hour, you're script practicing back and forth with the partner. Half an hour, you're just going strictly over objections. That is it. Literally every single morning, you're like a sniper on the phone. From like 6:30 to 7:30, when I first got started in my career, I had a friend of mine and we were back and forth every single morning. I picked one buddy and we went back and forth until I felt like I kind of outgrew him. And I'm like, all right, dude, I need a new buddy. And we switched up buddies. And I was back and forth all morning, 30 minutes of script practicing, 30 minutes of objection handling. When you have that conversation enough, you put the headset on, it's like you're talking to that same person over again. Your goal every single day for cold calling during that 3-hour prospecting time should be 50 contacts, not 50 voice messages, not 50 someone answered and hung up on you, 50 people that you talk to about buying or selling a home. Out of those 50 contacts, you should be able to generate 5 leads. 10% of that conversation should be leads, meaning like, oh, shoot, I'll follow up with you from time to time. Like, let's get it done. And you should be able to set 1 to 2 appointments with that ratio. 50 contacts, having a script and going for the appointment, you should be able to set 1 to 2 appointments every single day. Doesn't matter if they cancel on you. Doesn't matter if they're iffy, if they're like not sure, they don't, whatever it is, set that appointment. Any questions before we move on to the next bucket? We have farming recommendations. Okay, here we go. Farming recommendations. So we talked about cold calling, door knocking. Next is farming. Farming is the process of selecting an area that you want to be known in and get business from. So think of it like a farmer who literally owns a farm. Like they go out there, they have this big old land. Then they got a tractor, they have like soil, they got to turn it, they got to toil it, they got to put like fertilizer inside of it, food, seeds, they got to water it, make sure like all the bugs are away from it. Like they got to take care of that farm in order for them to sprout and have things blossom and like be able to get stuff from it, right? That's what farmers do. It's the same concept in real estate. Go choose an area that you want to go nurture and take care of, that you want to get business from over time. Here's my farming recommendations. You're going to find, okay, first step, contact your title company and find a neighborhood with a high turnover rate. Do not choose a neighborhood because it's pretty, you like the price point, it's in an area. Find a place that has a high turnover, meaning they sell very often, they sell frequently. Next step, once you identify a neighborhood, find a neighborhood that has a high turnover rate with at least 200 units inside of it. 200 units. Next, you want to create and use a 12-month mailer sequence. 12 months, one mailer, you're paying out of pocket every single month that goes to that neighborhood. I'll explain why at the very end. I want to go through these couple of things. You are going to door knock that community minimum once per month the entire community with a market update, or as often as there is activity in that neighborhood. Once a month minimum with a market update, or as often as there is activity. If a home just got listed there, you better be the first person knocking on that door, letting everyone know that a home just got listed. If a home just got sold, you better be the first person that just let everyone know, hey, Pam, remember I met you last week? Your neighbor just sold that home, that 3-bedroom property we were talking about. I'll be checking you out in a couple of weeks. All right, I'll talk to you soon. And you're walking around, you're calling by first name. You know that place better than anyone else does. You've already talked to the HOA, you know the parking, pet restrictions, the CC&R guidelines. You are the king of that place when people think about you. Remember, it's not the best agent that's going to win in that area. It's the best known agent that's going to win in that area, which is what we're talking to you guys about today. Any questions on that? All right, next step when we're talking about building your business, next bucket, social media. For social media, follow the curriculum that we talked about on day 3, module 3 of social media. Follow that curriculum to a T on that day. Next, we have our sphere of influence. Write this one down. So for those of you who want to talk to your friends and family, write down sphere of influence. I'm going to go over 7. I'm probably going to go over by like 5 minutes because I need to get this one out. This one's really important. There's 2 different topics that we need to talk about. So sphere of influence, you're going to gather your list of 100 people. So step number 1, get your list of 100 friends, family, coworkers, people you went to school with, XYZ. 2, divide that list. Well, this is a new agent training, so you shouldn't have talked to anyone yet to this point about real estate. But for all of you in the winner's circle who maybe you have, give me a quick second to get this one out. I'll come back to you. All right, so you're going to have your sphere of influence of 100 people, and you're going to call everyone, letting them know that you're in real estate. You're going to call that list of 100 people, letting all of them know that you're in real estate. And you're going to use either the renter script or the homeowner occupied script in that conversation. And just as a brief overview, the conversation is going to sound like this when you call that list. Hey, aunt, or text them, depending on the relationship. Don't be weird. If you don't call somebody, don't call them out of nowhere and start talking about weird stuff. Like if you normally just text them, then just text them. But automatically you're going to use the script and you're going to let them know that that you just got started in the real estate industry and that your mentor asked you to reach out to everyone that you know about real estate. That's basically what you're going to say. You're going to blame it on the mentor. If they rent a home, you're going to use the renter script. If they own a property, you're going to use the homeowner script. You're going to go in 2 different directions. You're going to offer them an item of value. That initial phone call to that 100 people that you've never reached out to before is strictly a value add conversation. And you're just letting them know that you're in real estate. Follow the script. It'll be attached to all this and you guys will have it. For time's sake, I don't have the time to go over it in this training, but I will host a separate one, like a day 5 2.0. I'll do one just on the script alone so we have time to honor that. All right, back to the winner's circle for all of you guys. If you have reached out to your friends and family already, and they know that you're in real estate, you're going to use the competition script. They don't know you're in real estate. You're going to use the value add conversation. They know you're in real estate. You're going to use the competition script. In the conversation, David, I'll have Cherish added to the Slack channel so that you guys have it. You're going to use the competition script, and essentially the conversation goes like this on that 100-person list. You're going to let everyone know that you're having a competition in your office, and you have to get the most leads. You have to get 2 leads, or the most leads by a certain time period. And you're going to let every single person know that on that list. That's the whole reason you're calling them or texting them. Hey, Natalie, how's it going today? Hey, just wanted to reach out to you because I'm having a competition in my office, and we have to identify or find, I forgot what the conversation says, identify or find 2 people that are looking to buy or sell in the next 90 days, and the person who gets the most contacts wins. Can you please help me out? And they're like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Of course I want you to win. By the way, all that kind of stuff. The second part of that script is going to talk about if they're a renter, if they're a homeowner. If they rent, you're going to say, hey, by the way, have you thought about purchasing yet? If they're a homeowner, hey, by the way, my coach also asked me to give you a complimentary appraisal report. You're going to send them a CMA, you're going to send them a buyer consultation, and you're going to see the script go into two different conversations in two different ways. And I'm sorry that I'm rushing through it. I do want to honor the time. I wanted to keep it under 1 hour, but sometimes my antics of like talking too much, I get really excited about certain things, leads a little longer. So I will open it for Q&A in a second. So you're going to have your list of 100 people. If you've talked to them in the past, if you're brand new, it's a value add conversation. You're going to say, my mentor asked me to reach out to everyone. And if they rent a home, the conversation's one way. And if they own a home, the conversation's a separate way. Winner's Circle or any agent who's already reached out to their friends and family and they know you're in real estate, you're going to use the competition script. The competition script is going to remove all of the pressure from you. It's going to remove you from feeling awkward and uncomfortable or like a beggar. It's going to move all those nasty feelings that we have, that little drunk monkey in our mind, and it's going to give us a reason to reach out to people. You're going to use the competition script and it's going to say, hey, we're having a competition in our office. Can you please help me out these leads? That person is going to reach out. And if they are tenant occupied, meaning they're a renter, or if they're a homeowner, you're going to take that conversation in two different directions. Well, hey, my office manager, my coach, my mentor wanted me to offer my friends and family a complimentary home buying consultation. Would you be interested this year? Hey, my coach, my mentor, my office manager wanted me to offer an unofficial appraisal report to all my friends and family who own a home. I'm going to send that over to you by the end of this week. What's your property address and what's your loan balance? And now you start developing this pipeline of leads. That competition script is so genius because it removes all the pressure off of you. It gives you a reason to reach out to people. And more importantly, it gives them a reason to help you. You know, rather than you reaching out and saying, hey, do you know somebody? Can you imagine? Let me ask you this. Let me ask all of you a question right now. What if someone reached out to you, Alondra, David, Carolina, and said, girl, David, yo, bro, massive exclamation marks, super excited with a bunch of emojis, or they called you over the phone. They're like, yo, Alondra, what's going on? What are you up to? You're like, oh, girl, I'm on the treadmill. I'm on this training. What's going on? And they're like, girl, I need your help. My office is having a crazy competition right now, and I'm trying to win. Whoever can get the most people, most contacts, people who are looking to buy or sell this year wins the competition. And girl, I have 3 days to get this done. Can you please help me out? Yeah. How can I help you? Do you know of anyone who's looking to buy or sell right now I can reach out to? I just need the name and the number. That's it. Oh yeah, actually, I just talked to my friend. Or no, I don't have anyone. Girl, no problem. I'll let you get back to your workout. If you think of anyone, let me know, okay? Like, do you see how different the conversation is when you're texting them or calling them? Do you guys see how it's not even weird anymore versus, hey, how's it been? The Ford conversation, FORD, how's your family? How's it going at work? What have you guys been up to? Do you have any vacations that are coming up? That's great. Hey, by the way, you know, do you happen to know of anyone who's looking at, it's so weird and uncomfortable. Do you guys see the difference there? It's the psychology of the language that we're having with a person that changes, that gives you that return on investment. That is how you approach your sphere of influence. And if I were all of you, my focus would be first, sphere of influence in this market. Second, it would be social media. And then third, I would probably go back to door knocking or open houses. Farming's nice, cold calling's nice, but that my preference, right? I'm talking about my preference, those things. Okay. Up to this point today, we talked about creating your standard operating procedures, your systems and your processes. We gave you all of the categories that you need to begin working on those. That's on the business activity. The second part of today, we talked about your sales journey, how to quickly get out there, the most effective way of getting out there and to begin making money yesterday. I don't want you guys to try to figure out how to door knock, how to figure out how to cold call, figure out how to talk to your sphere of influence, figure out how to farm a neighborhood. There's no reason for you to figure it out. There's a proven way that already works. And we just gave you the entire template today, what to do, when to do it, what to say, how to approach people. And now you need to put it in your calendar and get straight to work. These last 5 modules that we went over will teach you all the basics to all the fundamentals of having a legitimate business and making money yesterday. Before we wrap up the phone call, I want to make sure we answer any Q&As for any of you guys that you might have out there right now. What questions do we have lingering around? Any questions at all? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. No questions. Okay, good. Forever hold your peace on that. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? What was your biggest aha from today? What was your biggest takeaway from today? Drop it in the chat or unmute yourself. What was your biggest aha or your biggest takeaway from today?
I really like the fact that when, to target in the beginning, condominiums and, what was it what you said? Condos
Townhomes.
and townhomes, because it's a smaller community. So you want to, like you said, it's not how many years you've been in business, but how many people know you, the most known, right? Realtor. So I
Yes.
feel like it's a great start because usually they're smaller. And if you target those every day or every, however, you will see, like, you start seeing the results for sure. So for me, that was really like, I never thought about that. So that was very like an odd moment for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the feedback on that, OCO. And of course, if you have any questions about it offline, reach out to me, let me know. Anyone else? What other aha moments or takeaways that you have from today? Drop it in the chat or unmute yourself.
I love the idea with the
I like that when we have two laptops in the same room. Cherish and I do the same thing all the time. Oh, he just gave up. He walked away. Look what you guys did, man. You guys, no, I'm kidding. Where did my boy go? He walked away from the
Yeah,
laptop.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I love the idea with the what was it? The competition idea. That was awesome.
Amazing. I love that. I think that one for me, when I was like 2 years in my business, that one for me was a huge game changer because it gave me another reason to reach out to people without feeling weird. And I liked that one a lot. Yes, ratio for homeowners versus investors. Dolores says, perfect. Okay. All right, team. You've now completed the entire curriculum. There's no reason that all of you can't go out there and start closing 2 to 3 units within the next 60 to 90 days. And that is the expectation. The expectation is that all of you turn into excellent professionals. The expectation is that you guys go out there and you earn more money than you ever have this entire year. And the expectation is that after you begin growing your sales business, you have a way of scaling it and duplicating yourself. You shouldn't have to trade your time for money. You shouldn't have to service more clients and have less time with your friends and family. That's not the way business is supposed to be run. That's not a business. That's just becoming a high-paid salesperson. At this point, we've taught you how to become a professional, how to increase your sales, and then once you begin increasing your sales, how to turn your sales business into an actual business to scale it and duplicate yourself. And you should be able to make the most amount of money and have the most amount of fun in your life after this curriculum. With that said, you guys, have a healthy, happy, productive day. If you have any questions, reach out to me on Instagram via Slack. We'll talk with you guys very soon. All the attachments will be on Slack. Have a productive day, everyone. God bless. Peace.